Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Creative Catalyst podcast. I am your host, Lianne Barron, and joined again today by the amazing, incredible Luke Hurd. How you doing today, Luke?
Well, I can take all those adjectives. Sure. I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. I'm wearing my unicorn shirt today. I'm feeling that vibe. I'm feeling like a unicorn. I don't know. It's just that kind of day.
You are a unicorn. You're one in a trillion.
Yes, as are you, as are all of us. And we're talking about our great community of creators. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you listening and joining us on these conversations. This is a kind of check-in that we're doing on a weekly rolling basis to see what's up in the industry and kind of what's top of mind for our community. In one of our previous conversations, we were talking about how creators are selected, how they're drawn into different opportunities with partners, with brands, with agencies, and for the different platforms. And I want to jump right into it, Luke. Like, I think that there's a conversation that needs to be heard, and advice needs to be shared with some of the creators that maybe haven't gone through the experience of, first of all, working with an agency and even having the opportunity to work directly with some of the platforms. So given that you are hustling on the daily and you do work for a large agency, maybe just actually remind for those folks who haven't tuned in to any previous episodes, what it is that you do, the agency that you're working for, and the kind of work. This is in augmented reality and mixed reality, also artificial intelligence that you're doing on the daily.
That's right. My day job is for an agency called VML Y&R. That's a lot of consonants smashed together. But essentially, it used to be a company called VML. And then there was a very famous marketing company from the Mad Men days called Young and Rubicam, Y&R. So we took those, smashed them together, and that's who we are. So we're also Young and Rubicam as well. So if you've ever seen Mad Men, you'll notice that name is actually mentioned a couple times on there. I work with extremely large brands: Coca-Cola, Wendy's, Wrangler jeans, Intel, Dell, you name it. A lot of different places. Mazda, Ford, a ton of verticals, and I try to interpret how their brands can authentically represent themselves in newer spaces with people who are already in these newer spaces. So you have to care about how to build the thing, and then also what the audiences are already doing there in kind of these newer spaces, whether that's AR, VR, gaming, AI, you name it. So I offer a lot of strategy, but also build. And I get a unique perspective on this because I am also a creator. So I hire creators to build these. I create creative briefs for creators to respond to. And I am also a creator too. So not only do I create this stuff and work with the brand and kind of understand the mechanisms of how campaigns go, but I'm also the person who hands it to someone just like me, who builds it. So I get this really unique perspective of how all the stakeholders work, how all the brands work, how the development works, how the promotion works, how the trafficking works, and most importantly, how the holistic campaign works. And sometimes when you're a creator, it's hard to see all that. You're really just kind of dealing with a couple people from an agency or a brand, maybe a stakeholder here and there that isn't part of those people, maybe from an artist or somebody. And you work with them to try to interpret what they're trying to bring to life in a way that you can do it. So what's interesting about that is there's a lot of stuff that people don't realize when working with agencies and working with other brands. And that is when you're a creator and you're out there doing your thing, and maybe you get contacted by a brand or someone who's representing a brand or an artist or an agency. They reach out, and usually it's like, hey, we're looking to have something built. We really love your stuff, and we'd like to see if we can work together. They might even send an idea over. Hey, we are thinking about doing a 50th anniversary for FedEx or whatever. And they might even send over a comp. Somebody might even have already done that work. And it's up to you as a creator to understand who it is you're talking to. Mm-hmm. Are you talking to the brand? Are you talking to the person who runs the brand's social media account? Are you talking to the agency? Are you talking to a person who works at an agency who runs the brand's social media account? Are you talking to the agency who is their agency of record, meaning that's their main agency that does all of their strategic stuff? There's a lot of stuff out there. And when you have a brand like Coca-Cola, They work with WPP, which is a holding company, and then they work with 12 to 15 agencies underneath that, probably more than that, actually.
Yeah.
And you're just one of a bunch of agencies, and you're just a creator dealing with one of all those agencies. And then there's Coke sitting on top of that. So it gets so complex that it's really important to just understand how it works. That way you know who you're talking to, how much flex you have, how to get more money, how to request more money, and then also how to plus up your ideas and make sure that you're giving them something that's high craft. So there's that. And then there's this whole other thing, which is money. And we've talked about this on the side a little bit, and I kind of hinted a little bit that this is something I really wanted to get into, because I'm a creator, and you're a creator, and we support creators, and we're all at a creator network, and my best friends are creators, and I have information and knowledge about how some of these other inner workings go that are helpful to them that they might not know, and some of it can be a little hostile if you don't understand how it works, and you might find yourself confused and lost and wondering what happened to this project. It just went away. So I kind of want to pull back some of the curtains and talk a little bit about how brands work with this stuff and what they really care about, and then also how the platforms themselves work with brands, because that's really important to us as creators. So brands, as we know, have a lot of money. They're kind of like the Medici family of modern day. You know, the Medici family paid for Michelangelo and other people to create the Sistine Chapel and all this amazing artwork. They funded his work, and he was able to create all of this artwork because the people with all the money wanted to build some religious stuff. Would Michelangelo have done all that stuff on his own and gone down such a hardcore religious path? I don't know. I really don't know. But the people who were paying him wanted that work. Mm-hmm. So it's important to understand this has been happening forever. This is how art has been happening forever, commission. So when you're working with a brand, they are the Medici family, and they have a story they want to tell. Medici family wanted to talk about, God and religion and kind of Judeo-Christian type stuff, Christian stuff. Brands want to talk about themselves. They want to talk about a new thing that they're doing, a new taste, a new meal, deals. They want to get you in the door, and that's what their whole goal is, as we all know. But they have all the money, and they have an idea of how their money wants to be spent. And the way that they advertise is they take all their money, all their budgets, and they set it all up front at the beginning of their fiscal year. And every company's fiscal year is a little bit different. Doesn't mean it's in January. Some people's fiscal year starts in July and stuff. But what it means is annually they reset, and they say, okay, let's do all the budgets and figure out how much money we want to spend on Facebook trafficking, how much money we want to spend on Instagram trafficking, how much money we want to spend on Snapchat and TikTok and Google ads. And they set all that money off to the side, and that money is spent immediately, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So let's say their budget is, if it's a large QSR like Wendy's, Taco Bell, you're looking at $15 million in ad spend, probably just on Facebook alone. So all that money is set off to the side to traffic what you build, your AR creation. So when you build these effects and they work as ads or they have promotions behind them, that's where that money comes from, is this money that they set aside at the beginning of their fiscal year for that particular network. They make sure it's for that. It's not just like social. They don't just set it off to the side for like immersive stuff. It really is very kind of pinpointed. So if you know that they have budgets set off to the side at the beginning of the year, and maybe some of those budgets are allocated for things like in-feed ads, like post ads and things like that, you might be able to talk them into converting those into AR ads and find new revenue and money that they've already spent. So you don't have to convince them to incrementally spend more money. They've already spent that money, and they care far less about switching it around because it's already spent. They spent it 8 months ago, and they need to spend it, or else they can't get a budget for next year. Mm-hmm. So if you understand how to unlock that money and how to talk to the agency about how their money is spent, where their ad spend goes. And, sometimes it's hard to come out of the gates and just start talking to people because you don't know who you're quite talking to, but it's still important to know all this. Once you understand how the money is spent, especially if you understand the agency side, then you can start to unlock revenue that's already allocated. And it might be for Instagram ads or Facebook ads or Snapchat. And Snapchat's great because that's almost all AR. So if you're an AR creator and they have money off to the side for Snapchat, that's what it's for, as opposed to Facebook and Instagram, which could be feeds and reels and things like that. So, so you start to understand the money allocation, right? Then you have to understand that when you create an AR ad, and there's money allocated behind it, the way that the platforms make money, and I love everybody at these platforms, by the way. I'm going to preface this because I don't want to upset anybody.
Of course not.
I got friends at Meta. I have friends at Snapchat. I have friends at TikTok, all on the AR side of things. And this is not meant in any way, shape, or form to tarnish anything that they've done. This is more of just a business thing.
Yep.
But it's
information.
It's right. It's information, and it's important for us creators to know how this works. When a company is willing to put an ad buy behind an AR ad, the company, the platform, will work with them. So you have these Meta reps and Snapchat reps and TikTok reps that help them try to figure out what's effective, what the new trends are, where to put their money and allocate it. And sometimes with AR, they jump in and they help with that. The way that these platforms, Meta, Snapchat, TikTok, and other social media companies make money is through advertising, and they make it through media buys. So brands who spend $15 million a year on ads, that is where all the money comes from. That's what they care about catering to because that's what their business model is. So they're willing to cater to people when they spend money. So if you have something that's like an AR ad for a movie, let's say a movie that they want to put $300,000 in promotional ad buy behind, which is a pretty big buy. Basically to put it in feed and put it in stories, things like that. Once they put money behind it, the platforms care a whole lot about how that effect works and who builds it. When you are a brand, so let's say I'm working with a brand, I'll just say brand X because I don't want to piss off any brands. When I'm working with brand X and I'm concepting a design, let's say, oh, you open your mouth and the confetti falls down. Let's use FedEx. I said the FedEx 50th anniversary. We'll use that. It's FedEx's 50th anniversary and they want to build a filter and they open their mouth and confetti falls down and you pop out of a box, right? That's the effect. Let's say I'm working with them as a creator and they come to me, we want to build this, and I help them and I concept it and I'm helping them kind of plus it up and stuff. Once they put a media buy behind it, you might not be able to build that effect anymore. That is a reality. So that means that as you up yourself as a creator and you start working with larger and larger brands, the reality is the builds get ripped out of your hands and the creative direction gets ripped out of your hands because those brands are dumping a lot of money into social media, and those social media companies will build their effects for free because they're spending $300,000 on a media buy. So this is kind of the dark and dirty secret of it all. When I am going to build an effect for FedEx, and I'm not really building one, and I'm going to build an effect for FedEx like that, if they put $150,000 of media buy behind it towards Snapchat, Snapchat will say, great, we will give you free creative direction and build it for free. The brand at that point does not engage with me anymore.
Yep.
Because they don't need to. I was the creative director. I was the builder. I'm not anymore. Why would they engage with me? They're getting the service for free. Why would they pay me $30,000 to do this? Doesn't make any sense. So I don't blame the brand and I don't blame the platform, but the reality is it's hostile to creators. So if you're in the lower tier, making $2,000, $3,000 in effect, that's not really what I'm talking about. It's more about when you start building your brand, you start working with larger brands, more tighter timelines, bigger campaigns. When more money is involved, you'll suddenly realize they start disappearing. They start going away when you're like, who's building all these things? So Snapchat, at one point, I'm not sure how many creative directors they have. They had 50 creative directors who did nothing but AR at one point, meaning that there were 50 people over there willing to concept ideas for brands at any point. So if FedEx decides they want to put money behind it, they got a whole team of people that do your job. Yep. And they'll take your job. They take it right out of your hands.
Yep, that's the reality of it, right?
Because that's the reality of it.
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, exactly the same way.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way. So when you put money behind an ad on TikTok, TikTok doesn't necessarily build it for free, but they have partners, only 7,
yes,
that they hand those effects to. And you ain't them. So what that means is, the reality is, there's a couple platforms out there that just, when you get to a certain point, it's hard to make money with the build and the creative direction.
If you're an individual, let's caveat this by saying too, if you're an individual creator, right? Yeah. So to be, and it's not to say that you couldn't ever become one of the select few that are the chosen ones that are brought in to say, for example, it's TikTok. Who knows what they're strategizing, if they're going to change that. But currently, as we understand it from our POV and how they've been bringing in creators, individuals, they basically haven't, because they do resource internally through their network of people who have been pre-selected. If Correct. They open it up, or if, what their plans are for that, maybe they will at some point open it to individuals, but currently it's what's happening. As with Snap as well, they have a very specific network as well of folks that they are tapping into, as well as internal teams. And same with Meta, has a specific group of folks that they tap into in their network, as well as working with. Yes, they do.
They do, but the caveat there is that Meta doesn't operate the same way.
Which is
honestly why I build more on that platform. So a lot of people ask me, like, why do you care so much about Spark? That's honestly why. It is, there is no, I can work with any large brand. They can spend any amount of ad money they want, and I still get to do the creative direction and build it. I'm still the person. Meta never steps in and builds it for free and takes it away from me. It's just the reality of it. Now, Meta does have brands that come to them and want to build things, and Meta will then select from creators. That's fine.
Or suggest
creators.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, Snap does use external creators in their builds. Like Brielle Garcia is a great example. There's other people out there. Cyrene Q is a great example.
Yes.
So Snap does engage external creators, but if you've brought the work, if you've cultivated this brand relationship and they've come to you and they've talked to you and you've done this work, all it takes is one mention of media buy, and it is not your project anymore.
Correct.
So that is unfortunate. That's an unfortunate thing. And I wish more people talked about it, because both Snapchat and TikTok have a great creator community. Yeah. They have a lot of people there who really care about AR. They care about building their brands, and they want to work and continue to build up, not just grind for $2,000 to $3,000 per effect. They want to keep on building. And the reality is, there are ceilings with those, unless you have a very special relationship with them and they know to pick you for very certain things. But there's not enough work like that for all of us to go around. It just doesn't work that way. So when I talk to creators about this stuff, and again, I'm going to preface this by saying that I absolutely adore the people who work at these companies. This has nothing to do with them. And almost all of them are in the creator side of things. So, like, they run the creator community side of things, and they care about the creators. There's a whole other business arm up above it that has to make the money. And that's really what I'm talking about right there. So Meta does work with individual artists. Like when we do things like with like Coachella, or they did the Atelier of Dreams. What was that? That was
Dior.
Yeah, Christian Dior. They will hand select the people, and the reason they do that is because these brands these brands and Meta are investing in this, and and they want to make sure that it's not just like out in the world for anybody to go kind of bid on. They want to really cultivate it and hand select it. All of them do that. TikTok does this. Snapchat does it. They all do it. But Meta doesn't have that hostile part of it where it's like, oh, you're going to give us $150,000 to promote this ad? We'll build it for free with an internal person. That is counterintuitive to their creator community. It is Meta is not my competition. Snapchat is, and TikTok is.
That's a
TikTok
great
and
way.
Snapchat are my competition right now, and I don't view
That's
Meta as my competition at all. They're my helpers in a
yeah.
lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a great way to distinguish it. And again, who knows what they're spinning up differently in the background. This is just based on existing information of how things have worked to date, and it is what it is, right? And it's really important. Just to underscore what you're saying, this is information that we're sharing because a lot of the time, like you say, creators kind of are so baffled and take it extremely personally. Like maybe this is the point to make here is that they take it so personally, but this is an institutionalized situation. It is beyond you. It's been established. It has so much to do with media spend. And then, and it's, it's a way of how they're doing their business and almost ensuring that whatever brands for Snap or TikTok are coming to them are getting kind of value add. It's for them doing the internal build as a value add, for that they're sharing with their clients. And so I get that, and that's just how they do their business, and it is what it is, right?
I'll add too, because I work on the agency side. It's not just creators that are affected by this. Individual creators, I kind of went over how that all works. Mm-hmm. Agencies also suffer from this. I will work with a team of sometimes 10 people to craft an effect idea and a workflow, how it works, everything with our clients. The moment the client says, well, we have a Snapchat amount of money we need to go spend, what will it take to do this on Snap? It's done. It's gone. It goes to Snap, and my agency and their idea is done. So it wastes agency money. It wastes agency time. And it's frustrating for agencies too, because we want to do that. We want to work in this world and try to build things. I work with an agency. That's my whole job there. So not only is it threatening to me as a creator individually, it's threatened to my employment on my day job as an agency, because this is what I do there. So unless I want to build myself up and then go work for Snap and do this same thing internally for Snap, which is then threatening all the creators that I'm friends with, it just doesn't, there's a weird thing there that doesn't add up for you and me.
Right.
So as much as I love the creator community and I love the technological advancements that are coming out of Snap and TikTok and some and Meta and their headset stuff and everything else, I care about creators. I care about creators and my friends, and I really care about how we can make money in this space, because I'm going to be honest with you. We build better effects than they do. We build more complex effects than they do. We have more time and we have more craft in it. And it's nothing against what they do. It's just that I will have an idea that's like using the latest thing. I had one that used custom landmarkers in Snap, where you scan an object like a statue, and then it works just on that statue, and you can augment the statue. When the media buy came up, they changed the whole idea because they didn't want to build it that way. They were like, we can build it quicker using less technology, and we can make a selfie filter that when you open your mouth, something pours on your head. And the brand's like, okay, because it's free. Okay. I'm communicating with the people I'm communicating with anyway. So it's to the brand, it's, as long as the idea is somewhat okay, they'll go with it because the discount, there's an incentive.
Yes.
So, but I have no incentive to offer other than it's worth the money. You can pay $500 to build a fence, or you can pay $10,000 to build a fence. And I bet I can tell you which one of those will be a more quality fence. It doesn't mean that you can't find someone to build you a fence for $500. So, and it's nothing against their build quality or anything. It's just their stuff is fine. And it's not saying I don't respect it. It's just that it does get lessened. I have never, ever in my entire career ever seen it come out of my hands, make it way over to a platform, and then come out in a way that was like technologically better than I could have built it.
And crafted again, because I think the thing is that on the agency side, but very much so from the individual creator, like creators are not coming to the space born creators. Like this is just a brand new industry. Therefore, we have this whole, history of being artists or being coming from different dedicated backgrounds, and now are bringing our craft into this tooling opportunity, right? So that's the nature of how these builds are going to happen, is that it's going to be so much richer. Whereas a lot of the content that's being produced in-house is basically because that's the only history they've had, is just using this particular tool. There's no, not to speak on all the folks that are working internally. Maybe they do have creative, artistic background, etc.
They
But
do. They do,
but
for
I
sure.
think it's the intended outcome of the product that's being produced in house doesn't have as much interest in it being something that is artistic and shows it artistic integrity
That is
and
right.
and so if there's anything
They are
about
building
this.
ads. They're
Yes,
building ads.
exactly. Which is why,
There's,
like, the purpose of this podcast, I think, is to just continue to celebrate why it's important to have the artistic pieces that are created in AR and these emerging technologies, but firmly rooted as an art form, because that's
yeah,
where we derive inspiration, right? We're not going to pull inspiration from the ad. And so there's this necessity for folks to continue to build and to hone their craft. There is a necessity for this creator culture, this AR, this individual creator culture, because this is where the inspiration comes from. This is where the ideas come from. And
100%.
to cut folks out, though, where they're now at a place where they can build a career out of it is probably not the best strategy, because to cut these people out of this equation, essentially, I think, is removing the inspiration from the craft itself, right?
Yeah.
So prove me wrong.
It I can't.
Not you. I'm talking to
It's,
the someone out there.
I know. No, it's there are the bigger the brand, we have brands out there that are absolutely massive. So, NVIDIA, for instance, NVIDIA has more market capital than the entire worth of all of crypto. They are worth 1.3 trillion, and crypto is worth about 1.12.
Take that
so
in.
NVIDIA, that one company, is worth more than every single coin that's ever been out there. That company and companies like them, they have reps that work at Snapchat and places like that who do nothing but work with them. And when I have a brand that falls underneath my umbrella, when I work at an agency and I'm working with a brand that has a rep like that, I will work with that Snapchat rep frequently.
Mm-hmm.
I'll sit on calls with them and stuff. Basically my team will ask me about capabilities. Can we do this? Can we do that? And I go, yeah, we can do this. We can do that. And then Snapchat gets involved. I'll talk with their rep, and their rep, who is, I don't even want to call this person a rep. They are a very high ranking person because they make a lot of money for the company. They will help figure out that campaign, who to select to build it, how to traffic it, they'd work all that stuff out for the brand. That's what I do. So when that happens, I'm like, man, the first couple of times it happened, I thought, this feels like what I do, except I don't have the access to work at this company and give it away for free. I can do all this, and I'm going to charge you $40,000 on top of it all to build it. So, and however, how much I spent to concept it. So, which can be another $20,000, $30,000, depending on what it is. So it is a little hostile. It is a little threatening. It does feel like my competition is also the people who are sticking their hand out and saying, come be a part of us. Come be a part of our creator community. And I so badly want to say, I am a part of it. I am a part of it. I'm an official partner for you. I will help you build this stuff. But once it gets to a certain point, I don't have the opportunity to, and I do over here. So, so sometimes it's just not worth my time. So I get a lot of, I'll have people ask me who work at these companies, come create on our stuff. What? How come you're not creating more often over here? And I have to be honest about it and say, dude, I'm trying to make real scratch here. And I'm not trying to scrape together the bottom, which is also, it's not fair that I would come in there and take away opportunity from all these other people who are starting out. I'm not going to go in there and start cranking out the lower. I want other people to grow, and they can't grow if I'm taking the work. So I want the upper stuff, and it's just a tough thing, because that's how they make money, and I get it. But it's and we all build ads in that regard. When we're working with brands, we're all building ads in that regard. But I like to bring a level of craft to it, and intelligence and sophistication and artistry, to where it's much more than just the ad that comes with the campaign. And sometimes the brands will say, I believe in you. I get it. I won't do it for free. We'll stick with you.
Yeah.
But that's a heck of an incentive.
Yeah.
To not have to spend that money.
So I think the takeaways for the creators, and it's going to depend where you sit in this creator landscape, right? If you're an individual, with an agency, if you own an agency, you're all going to have a different perspective on how you will place yourself in this space. But I think the intent of this conversation was to demystify a bit further about how working with a lot of these platforms works. Because I remember like the first time we had even talked about this, because I had not gone into Snap and done any of had these conversations at that level that you're saying with the ad spend, right? So it was, people I think set on a trajectory thinking, hey, I'm going to get in and I'm going to have all these great opportunities because now I'm building a name for myself and I'll be able to pull in these clients and I'll be able to build for these platforms. It's just awareness, folks, that this is once you kind of start stepping up and hitting certain levels, what to expect when you get there. And you can make choices at that point too, whether you like work really hard to kind of change how things are done in the establishment, for example, and encourage the right people at TikTok to start bringing more people into the fold, bringing more agencies into the fold and figuring out ways to apply for that. It's just information, how you then decide to pursue your career a bit further and how you're going to make money for yourself as a creator in the mixed reality space right now.
Yeah.
So.
I should definitely circle back and say I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from working on these platforms.
Oh yeah, no.
There are a ton of people who saw this problem and their solution was to get in good with Snap, and that's how they make their money, is because now they're the people that they're internally selected to go build this stuff. So there are always avenues, and there's always ways for you to figure out how to do it.
Yes.
And I build on these platforms too. In fact, I'm literally building an effect house effect today. So I don't mean to say it in a way that's like, oh, don't do it, or they're bad or anything.
No, definitely not. No, it's not that. It's information.
It's information. It's more just saying, if you want to make money at this, you have to know how the game is played.
Yep.
And if you don't understand how the game is played, you're going to be confused. And I don't want my friends to be confused. I don't want them to go out there and work hard, and then the brand ghosts them, and then suddenly they see an effect that's not the one that they necessarily pitched, but it's part of the campaign. And then they're like, well, how did that get out there? I thought I was working on that. And that's happened to me a couple of times. And when it happened, I just didn't quite understand why. And it really is up to you as a creator, in that same sense that, like, when effects first started getting popular and people were like, why doesn't Facebook pay us for these? The reason Facebook doesn't pay you for those is because Facebook is the canvas and the hosted gallery.
Yes.
That's what they are. And you are the artist with the paints. So no gallery pays you. Nobody who makes the canvas pays the artist. The artist is commissioned. And that, again, has happened since the Meta Cheese. This is nothing new. So you are an artist. You are going to go get commissioned. Facebook is not going to pay you for your views because it's not content. It doesn't work that way. They don't pay. Facebook doesn't pay anybody for their views. Some other places will pay you for your views. You have like a creator fund on TikTok, and Snap has some stuff that's monetized as well. But you have to know all this. You have to understand that this one's not monetized, so I have to make money a different way. This one is monetized, but I'm also beholden to their monetization system, which means if they want to turn it off, then somehow now I have to find another business model. So, and you see that with YouTube and other things too. People get deplatformed on YouTube and then they're boned and they can't pay their mortgage because so it's like, don't be so beholden to a platform. First of all, that's not a smart way to do it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but also be realistic. Understand that these people are out there to make money too.
Yes.
And if you don't understand how to play the game, then you can't understand how to get around the bases. And that's really the goal, is understanding the mechanics. That way, when you are working with something and you're working with a brand and they do start mentioning stuff about this, you're well aware of what might happen. So one, you might be able to talk about the brand. You might be able to steer that ship and pull them back in and explain what happens. Hey, when you do this, just to beware, you might not get the same creative concept. They might take it and they might tweak it and make it a little less because
A little
because
faster.
because it's
Yeah.
free.
Mm-hmm.
So if you do that, you can start selling in a better way and
Yes.
and positioning yourself better because you knew it up front.
Yeah.
And that's all about just getting your hands burned and stuff. But that's why I'm here talking about this. That way I can sit here and tell you, hey, these pots are hot. These pots are
Yes.
hot, so be careful with them because I don't want you to get your hands burned. Sometimes you do, but it happens. So
Love it.
that's such an important thing, and I really just genuinely feel like as these newer creators are coming out on the newer platforms that are kind of emerging, like Effect House and things like that, that you can get good work from good brands. You can build a brand, make a name for yourself, and really get out there. But you really need to know how the money works.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because
And also,
that unlocks all the other money.
Exactly. But then, like, just to your point, what you were saying there, because inevitably, you will continue to pitch. Hopefully that's the case. Just keep going. But then you are then armed to do it in such a way that you'll give your best positioning, right? You will let folks know why you would be a better choice versus having someone do it internally. And you lead with that, right? So it's just for stronger conversations. What cards are in your hand and you know how to play. Yeah, absolutely.
It's so much easier to sell things proactively when you know these are the challenges, these are the hurdles I'm going to have. So I'm going to preload and make this so less risky because I know what I have to do and what's going to happen. So when you do all that, you end up, it's much easier to sell proactively than retroactively.
Yes.
Because in fact, let me just say this thing really quick because this is a great example.
Yeah.
Kraft Macaroni and Cheese announced that they were going to change their recipe. I think 2015. The backlash was like, no way, because they had like yellow number 5 and stuff. There's a lot of dyes and stuff they wanted to, get with the normal times and make it more healthy. So they announced they were going to change their recipe, and there was a big backlash. There were all these people that were like, my kid loves this, so you're going to change it. Now they're not, it's a staple. So they went to an agency called CPB, Crispin Porter Bogowski, and they basically said, how do we do this? So literally on the first round of creative concepts, they said, let's just do it and not tell anybody. Let's just not even advertise it. We'll just do it. And then later, once everyone's consumed it and nobody notices it, then we'll tell them we changed it. And that's what they did. They waited 6 months. They changed it. They released it. Nobody said a word at all because they realized once people get a bad taste in their mouth, it's hard to get that bad taste out of their mouth. Absolutely. Once they know that it's changed, they're going to focus all on this little thing. So if you understand the hurdles and you preload that strategy up front, then you realize if you can avoid the bad taste, it's nothing but good taste.
Yeah.
And then they don't care anymore. So I really like that idea because 6 months later they came out and said, hey, we changed your stuff. You didn't even know. 50 million boxes were sold. Didn't hear a single complaint. Anyway, got new stuff in there and it's all healthy for you. And everyone was like, cool.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, cool. Obviously nothing's changed. So, so that's what I mean. If you're strategic about it and you preload your ideas and you preload what your strategy is, not just on the effect and the build, but also who your competition is. If it goes to Snap, if it goes to TikTok, if you have media buys behind it, you want to let them know that you're the guide. You're the guide, not the guy, the guide. You're their guide. You're their Sherpa. You can help them. And just as well as Snap and Effect House do and Meta. And you'd be surprised how well that works, especially if you do know, because you can talk about it up front and put your money where your mouth is. So anyway, I'll stop yakking.
No, that's perfect. And the more you know, the more opportunity you're going to have to flex what it is that you know, right? So
that's right.
So thank you. I think this is massive value. I mean, we've talked about it several times, but every time we revisit, it gets me thinking about it again. And for those of you listening, hope you've taken something away from this and definitely share back with us. I think we mentioned it the last podcast that we've shared, but let's remind folks again where they can reach out to us if they have questions or if they want to continue this conversation. I feel like maybe people will. So
totally.
where can they reach you, Luke?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, or if you're at one of these platforms and you want to hit me up and complain,
Yeah, let's go.
I mean, no, you can hit me up definitely pretty much on anywhere on social media. I'm at Luke Hurd,
Yeah.
LUKEHURD. That's Instagram, pretty much everywhere. I would say, professionally, I'd appreciate if you hit me up on LinkedIn, because I like looking at those messages a bit more than Instagram, because I have a lot of followers on Instagram and it gets a little hairy sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, please hit me up if you have any questions or comments about this, because I think if we support each other as creators, that will net greater results. And it's not that we can force them to change their business models or anything, but we can certainly help each other find work, help each other support work, and then hopefully, if enough of us talk about this and it's out in the open, then we can have an honest conversation about it with our people in the creator communities who drive these communities, because then they can go to their people inside of these organizations and say, hey, the creators want to know what's going on with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's important stuff.
Yeah, we need, again, let's triple down on that. This is how change happens, right? If we're just having these isolated conversations where it's not heard and no one can contribute a voice, then there's no change that will happen, right? So that's the point of this conversation, is just to raise awareness, to get people chatting, forming opinions about it too. And
I'd say don't at me, but go ahead and at me. It's all good.
Yes, we're here for it. And of course, always coming from a place of intent to assist and help, and definitely raise the vibration and the overall success, at least of the creator community that we represent.
Nothing but love for those people and those platforms.
Platforms, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because at the
really
end of the
supply
day,
me with my life.
Yeah, no, but at the end of the day too, the thing that we always we used to say it a lot in the beginning when people would complain, and they don't charge us. We don't have to pay to use their product. Yeah. It's free.
Oh yeah.
And
they
so
invest billions in this stuff. Absolutely.
There's that
dollars.
Right. So let's not forget that, right? We're not paying, and mad respect to Adobe. I love using their products as well, but I pay a pretty penny to use their product. And I appreciate that, but I also appreciate that I don't have to pay to go and explore my art on these social media platforms and AR. So
totally. And if Adobe had some way to advertise, then we might be having the same conversation about Adobe.
Precisely. So it's all about the business model, right?
It's all about business. So that's what I'm saying. It's not about these greedy platforms or anything like that, or that they're trying to cut us out, or it's nothing like that. It's just that this is the reality of how it works. So navigate appropriately.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you for chatting with me. I appreciate you as always. And until next time, I will encourage everyone who's listening to stay curious and keep on creating.